إن الحمد لله تعالى نحمده ونستعين به ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله تعالى من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله تعالى فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ونبيه ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. All praise and glory belongs to Allah. We thank Him and we seek His help and His guidance and His pleasure and His forgiveness. And we turn to Him seeking protection from the evil whispers of our souls and the consequences of our evil actions that are a result of that. For whomever Allah guides, there is no one that can lead astray. And whomever Allah leaves without guidance, none can guide. And we testify that no one is worthy of our worship but Allah alone, without any partner, and that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam was His servant and His messenger whom He sent as a mercy to the worlds and a guiding light to the path of Allah Azza wa Jalla and the abode and the home of the hereafter. And we bear witness the truest of words, the words of Allah, the great glorious Quran, and the best of guidance, the Sunnah, the example of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And the most dangerous of matters, the newly added matters into their religion, for every single one of them is a leading astray that only leads to the fire. To begin, Allah Azza wa Jal had certainly honored the human being. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ وَحَمَلْنَاهُمْ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ. Allah says, we have certainly honored, we've privileged the children of Adam, and we've carried them at land and in the seas, and preferred them over many of those that we have created a great degree. He preferred the children of Adam by creating them with His own hands, as He created our father Adam alayhi salam. And He preferred them by creating this entire earth and the heavens above it for them. هُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ لَكُم مَّا فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا. He is the one that created for you everything that is on this earth. And He privileged them by having the angels prostrate to them. And He privileged them by creating them in the best of forms. لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. We've created the human being in the best of stature, in the best of form, the best of design. Every year they make an improvement to the new model of the car, whereas the human being from day one until now, it was finalized, it was set and it was perfect. And Allah privileged them above the other creations with their mind and their intellect. And that is why when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to Adam alayhi salam, teach the angels the names of all things, then He said to the angels, now respect him. Now see how I have privileged him, now prostrate to him out of this respect. So Allah Azza wa Jal honored Adam alayhi salam with that intellect. And He honored his children also by giving them the faculties to become intellectual, to understand. He is the one, وَاللَّهُ أَخْرَجَكُم مِّن بُطُونِ أُمَّهَاتِكُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ شَيْئًا. Allah is the one that pulled you out of your mother's stomachs, you didn't know anything. وَجَعَلَ لَكُمُ السَّمْعَ وَالْأَبْصَارَ وَالْأَفْئِدَةَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. And He made for you hearing and sight and heart so that you would be grateful, so you would realize, appreciate how He has privileged you. And that's why throughout the Quran Allah condemns the people that refuse to recognize that. And He says there are those who have eyes they don't see with, ears they don't hear with, hearts they don't understand with. They are like cattle. Allah privileged them and they reduce themselves. They just follow the herd, they follow the crowd. They don't use what Allah privileged them with. But at the same time, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, after giving us these faculties to understand, from His beautiful wisdom is that He kept us dependent on Him. So He gave us the eyes to see, so we can understand what's happening in front of us. But He made that eyesight dependent on light, for your eyes cannot benefit you when there is no light around. All praise belongs to Allah. The first verse of Surah An'am, who created the heavens and the earth and created darkness and light. You know, they say in science that there is no such thing as darkness really. There is the absence of light. And there is no such thing as cold really, it's the absence of heat. But Allah Azza wa Jalla told us, no, I created these things, meaning they didn't exist. I created them, I put them into existence. So He put light as well into existence so your eyes would work. And likewise, even though He privileged us with intellect, He made that intellect dependent on His revelation. So His revelation for our minds, His wahy to our intellect, is just like, in the sense of dependency, the light for our eyes. Our eyes are useless without this light. And our intellect is useless when it is used outside, beyond, without depending on His wahy to make sure we understand things correctly. And I wish for the remainder of this khutbah just to use the example of the home to show you how much our minds are dependent on the revelation of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Because we are in a time where the home hardly exists. There are houses, but there are no homes. The fast food industry and the fast-paced world has destroyed the home and the structure, the institution of the home, and has caused moral decadence. Morality has been thrown out the window and values have been thrown out the window, and this is necessary. Why do you think the Quran and Sunnah is filled with rulings on family life, on social life? Because you will not be able to continue with your job on this earth without being able to understand the world around you correctly. This is not just dunya, getting married and having children. Some people go to an extreme and say, that is dunya, we're working for the akhirah. This could be your obstacle. If you don't get it right, you're not going to be able to put up with your duty. You're not going to be able to handle the challenges. You're not going to be able to know how to carry that load on the way to the akhirah. And that's why Allah gave us the mind, so that we may listen to Him and understand correctly and see the crossroads correctly and make the choices correctly. And that is only when we understand what to expect from this world around us. And when we don't know how to build a proper mental image of this world around us, and the home today will just be our example in the khutbah, that will be the source of all of our frustrations. So our job in this world is to figure out what Allah sent us of information, so that we don't get caught up, frustrated, because we have these unreal expectations. We're looking at it all wrong. And humanity, no matter how much it progresses, no matter how intellectual we become, no matter how advanced the world has reached of accomplishments and research and knowledge and the likes, without the revelation of Allah Azza wa Jal, they're still frustrating themselves. And Allah told us that, and we see it also. When He sent Adam alayhi salam, who He gave intellect to, and made the angels make sujood to him because of that, He said, فَمَنْ تَبِعَ هُدَايَ فَمَنِ اتَّبَعَ هُدَايَ فَلَا يَضِلُّ وَلَا يَشْقَى. But whoever follows my revelation will never be confused, will never be mistaken, and will never be miserable. You won't get frustrated with life. Many of us, we are frustrated with our lives and we're confused in our lives because we don't know how to look at it. And that's why the psychologists nowadays they say that expectations are the mother of these frustrations. When you expect the wrong out of something, you're going to get frustrated. You're setting yourself up for disappointment. And outside of looking through wahy, we're setting ourselves up for disappointment. So the home. The homes that are built nowadays across the globe, because the world's a small village now, by and large, people get married based on an expectation that if I look at her and she's beautiful, if I look at him and he's handsome, everything else is resolvable. Our Prophet ﷺ told us that this is a reality and that it takes place. He said a woman is married for her wealth and her status and her beauty and her religion. Make sure you pick the woman of religion so you would be successful. Maybe wealth and status played a bigger role a long time ago, but now, essentially everybody picks based on physical beauty. That is what is promoted, that is what is taught to us in these cultures. The concept of love at first sight. Sight means what? I sight that beauty in my eyes. But this is a disaster, and that's why more than half the divorces, Muslim and non-Muslim, half the marriages end in divorce. And those that don't end in divorce, they live a life just so life will go on, just for the kids as they presume. Even though the kids are miserable as well. Everybody lives in their own separate corner in the home. Nobody talks to anybody. That's it. It's a hotel. It's a shared housing. When a person picks based on beauty, this is a faulty expectation. You think that beauty is going to be there in the morning when she wakes up? You think her hair is going to look like that when she gets off the pillow? You think her eyes and her lips and everything's going to look just like that? You think that beauty will be noticeable after the aging process? You think that beauty will affect you, will not affect you noticing the responsibilities of a financial crisis? So he gave us a proper expectation, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Only expect to be satisfied when you pick on the basis of deen. When we left it, when we expected otherwise, because we kept taking our information, we kept building that expectation from movies and magazines and the likes, we set ourselves up for frustrations. So this is the first example about the home. How the homes are built. The expectation that love, they are in love. Some people think there's no such thing as love before marriage, and we Muslims don't. There is love, but you're in love with the look. You're not in love with the person. And that look will not always be there. So a person that bases their home on that, this explains very well where the frustrations, the disappointments, the letdowns come from. And then once we get into marriage, many a times, people expect that if I build a fake image in their eyes about the worth of my daughter, right? Especially in the Muslim societies. So many marriages are impeded because of discussions on mahr, the wedding gift, and how much it's going to be, and discussions on ridiculous things like it is unbefitting of her to have a hall like this when her cousin. These expectations, that's actually going to bring happiness. And this is the night of a lifetime, so that this night will resolve all the other problems. They can fall back on that memory. If you look back at the Prophet ﷺ, he made a big deal out of weddings. He did. But he made a big deal in the sense of being hospitable to the people. Not bragging and showing off and putting a price on your daughter. Shaykh Islam ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, says, the daughter of the Prophet ﷺ received from Ali a shield as her mahr. So whoever thinks that their daughter is worth more than the daughter of the Prophet ﷺ, something's wrong with his head, right? And Umar ibn al-Khattab used to warn the people not to raise these prices, not to obstruct marriage with these amounts. And he would say to the people, for this will be a reason to cause hatred in the marriage. Every time something goes wrong, I spent this much. How could you even look at me the wrong way? But when we expect that this is a price for our daughter, you didn't understand what that mahr was. It's a sign of commitment. And that would vary from one person to another. And whomever sets this mahr as a price for their daughters, then you have sold your daughter short, because all the money in the world is not worth our women. Our women are worth our blood. We bleed for them. But once again, these faulty expectations stop the home from being built to begin with. Delay the wedding and cause it to be with a sour taste. And they will not fall back on it in rough times. And then you move into the home. We have this expectation. Many divorces happen right away because you expect that your feelings for your spouses will never change. So many times, youth come to you the past 2-3 months. He just fed up. Text message, you're divorced. Or maybe on a Facebook nowadays, right? That's it, it's over. What? The feelings just aren't there anymore. This issue is because you think the feelings are going to be the same throughout. And this is foolishness. This is in the movies. And these people that represent those characters in the movies have the most unsuccessful marriages on the whole planet. This is just a fantasy. How can you expect that your love for your spouse, your feelings for your spouse will stay the same always. When your feelings for Allah don't stay the same always. Don't we believe that as Ahl Sunnah, that Iman increases and decreases? Meaning the way you feel about your Creator, the amount you love Him, fear Him, hope in Him, goes up and goes down. The one who created you, the one who made you, the one who provides for you, the one who covers up for you, the one that gave you life, puts you to death, gave you hearing, sight, and a heart, your feelings fluctuate. And yet you pass a judgment, a final judgment, a verdict on your spouse, a human being, because the feelings have changed. The Prophet ﷺ would have variant feelings between his spouses. And he would say, "Oh Allah, do not call me to account for what I have no control over." Meaning I am obligated to do what's in my control, to be fair to each one, time spent, money spent, to the end of it. But the feelings I have for Aisha being greater than so, I cannot control these feelings. So place that concept in your marriage so you don't get frustrated. Don't think it's all over. Another faulty frustration is that you think you cannot do anything about that feeling whatsoever. Meaning that love comes and goes and it's not explainable. Because the love is not there anymore. Our deen came to fix for us how we understand how our hearts work. Even in this regard. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Tahadu tahabbu." Exchange gifts, you will love one another. Therefore, these acts of kindness, these acts of affection will generate love in the heart. He said so, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So this quick write-off of that's it, I can't feel for her, he doesn't, I can't feel towards him like that anymore. There's a reason why it happened, and there's a reason or a cause for it to be fixed as well. When he says, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, "I swear by Allah, none of you will enter paradise until you believe, and you will not believe until you love one another. Shall I not inform you about something that if you do it, you will love one another?" Afshu salam, and pass these greetings, these warm, affectionate greetings with one another. If that applies to your brothers in Islam, to the people of the same gender, for sure it applies in the home. And it's the thought that counts, these small things. They are what generate that love in the marriage. And then they are what allow you to notice the goodness in your spouse. And they are what fix your expectation that your spouse is perfect. No, we have mercy on one another. We have love for one another. Good times and easy. We pick each other's slack. He said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, "La yafrak mu'minun mu'mina." Let no believing man hate a believing woman, meaning his spouse. "In kariha minha khuluqa, radiya minha ghayra." When he hates one of her qualities, one of her characteristics, he will be pleased with something else. Meaning focus on the cup being half full, not the cup being half empty. Think positive. Look at the good in her because you have flaws too. You have flaws as well. And even look at the beauty of his words, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. When he said, "Let no believing man," he didn't say let no man hate a woman. Let no believing man hate a believing woman. So he is reminding us in that of the most important good quality in her, that she's a believer. And likewise, as if he's saying, if you're really a believer, then you will value Iman correctly, and it will cause it to be weightier in your eyes than any other flaw. Even if the marriage, without hatred, without the lack of love, but you believe honestly you need to go your separate ways. Still, you will not be that ugly personality that denies all good. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تَنْسَوْا الْفَضْلَ بَيْنَكُمْ. Don't forget the good, the merits between you. And our Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said to the women on the day of Eid, "O gathering community of women, give in charity. For I have seen that you are a majority of the people of the fire." They said, "Why, O Messenger of Allah?" قَالَ تَكْفُرْنَا. You commit kufr. And kufr could mean to deny, to disbelieve. They said, we commit kufr in Allah, we deny Allah, meaning we disbelieve. He said, "No, تَكْفُرْنَا الْإِحْسَانِ." No, you deny the good treatment you receive. And then he gave an example, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he said, وَلَوْ أَحْسَنَ الرَّجُلُ إِلَيْكُنَّ الدَّهْرَ ثُمَّ رَأَيْتُنَّ مِنْهُ يَوْمًا سُوءًا لَقُلْتُنَّ مَا رَأَيْنَا مِنْكَ خَيْرًا قَطْ. And if a man is good to you for ages on end, and then you find from him one bad day, you say to him, I have never seen any good from you. This is what destroys the marriages always and never, and you expect it always to be good. And thus when the moment comes, you forget it all. These are faulty. You're setting yourself up for this, and no one will be harmed by this but you more than anybody else. Also of the faulty expectations that our deen resolved for us so that our homes would be stable and our families would have compassion and the children would be safe and the generations will be on the uprise, will be an improvement, not a regression, is that our deen taught us that the marital life in general, especially in the marriage, is about give and take. And it's more give than it is take, really. Everyone walks in and thinks, I'm not going to have any problems because I'm religious and the other party is religious. My husband or wife is religious. Where in the world did you get that thought from? First of all, even if you're religious, the both of you, that doesn't mean you're identical. That doesn't mean you're exactly the same. When the Prophet ﷺ had problems in his home, and his daughter had problems in her home, then what are you? You're setting yourself up for loss. You're setting yourself up for frustration once again with that expectation. So Allah gave you the wahy, gave you the revelation so you can see it clearly. Our Prophet ﷺ comes home, and his wife Zainab was of the wealthiest of his wives and the most generous. And she knew the Prophet ﷺ loved to have honey. She was the only one that could afford it, so when he would come over her house, she would give him from this honey. And Aisha and Hafsa were jealous of this. So they planned and they conspired a deal. They said, listen, when he comes, tell him, what is that we smell on you? What's that smell? And they know the shame of the Prophet ﷺ, the bashfulness, the haya of the Prophet ﷺ, the consideration of the Prophet ﷺ. So when he heard this from two women, he thought for sure there's something wrong here, not there. It was concurred by two different individuals. And he realized that both times I was asked this question, what did you eat? What is that smell? It was the honey. And so he said, Wallahi la at'amuhu. I swear I will never eat it again. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the ayah, يا أيها النبي لما تحرم ما أحل الله لك. O Prophet of Allah, why is it that you forbid on yourself what Allah made permissible? Meaning you're the example, you're the messenger. If you stop eating, the ummah is going to stop eating it. Even though he was not forbidding it Islamically, but still the people are looking to see what he does. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was telling him, even though you give up what you love, this is the point, for the sake of your family, for the sake of your wife, right? That's not a religious issue. That's a personal preference thing. You have to back down from certain issues. You cannot sit there and say, I demand my rights completely, you demand your rights completely. And to impose and put your foot down, it doesn't work that way. And it will not succeed that way. And so he understood and taught us, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that even religious people are going to have this friction. Because even if you're twins, you're not identical in every way. You will differ on some issues. So what about a person that is raised in one lifestyle, and you're raised in a completely different lifestyle, and then overnight you guys have to synchronize? That's going to require sacrifice. And those of us that are not ready for sacrifice, this generation especially, we're going to set ourselves up for a broken home. And the broken home is dunya, but this is in reality in effect deen. As the Prophet ﷺ said, يَخْرُجُ الدَّجَّالِ وَالنَّاسُ فِي قِلَّةٍ مِّنَ الدُّنْيَا وَرِقَّةٍ مِّنَ الدِّينِ وَفَسَادِ ذَاتِ الْبَيْنِ. The Dajjal will come out. The greatest trial, the other hadith is from Adam alayhi till the last hour. More people will be deceived by him than ever. He will come out when people are at a financial low, the economy is down, and their religious commitment is fragile, and their relationships between them are frail, are corrupted. No one's going to save the next person. No one's going to give da'wah to their family. Everybody's going their own separate ways. Every man for himself. And the wolf eats from the flock, the stray sheep. And so this is deen. And we thank Allah, and we need to show in our actions our thanks, our gratitude to Allah for pointing out to us these small, big issues. We consider them small, but so much is dependent on them. of keeping that nucleus of society together, keeping the family together. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأن محمدا عبده ونبيه ورسوله. All praise and glory belongs to Allah. We testify that none is worthy of worship but He, alone without any partners, and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was His Prophet and His servant and His messenger. So Allah Azza wa Jal created us, and He honored us, and He privileged us with intellect, and He commanded us to go search out His guidance, so that we can refine our intellect and be able to shoulder the challenges and the duties of being in this world, and so that we can fulfill our purpose of life in that framework. Of the faulty expectations regarding the home is that the in-laws getting involved will solve things. And 9 times out of 10 this is incorrect. The Prophet ﷺ entered upon Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anha one day in the Dhahira time, in the midday hour, where everyone is taking their midday nap, because in this time, in that part of the world, it's a scorching desert, nobody's outside. So he would check up on his daughter. And this is of his guidance that we need to adopt, so that we don't get overtaken, shocked all of a sudden with a disappointment in our families as well. To check up even after marriage. That was from his wisdom. He was the greatest father-in-law of all time. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So he checked up on his daughter, and he found something odd. That Ali radiallahu anhu was not there. And this is not normal. Everyone is home in this hour. So he said, "O Fatima, what is the location? Where is your cousin?" Because Ali radiallahu anhu was the son of the paternal uncle of Fatima radiallahu anha. And she said, something happened between us. And she left it at that. And this is of her wisdom. That you don't mention the problem of your household outside, not even to the in-laws, not even to your own in-laws, or the other in-laws. So how about those that put it on Facebook? How about those that consult those that are not trustworthy? And even if they're trustworthy, they're not experienced. Something happened between us. And so the Prophet ﷺ left her and did not pry and ask, what is there, what is happening? And this is from his wisdom ﷺ as well. Do you know why? Because many times the problem between the husband and the wife can be fixed only when it's kept between the husband and the wife. If you go to the parents, all the parent sees is what my daughter is hurt. My son is wrong. You can't help but be biased. And that's why we said if you leave it just to the human mind, it's not going to work. The human mind is filled with clouded judgment due to prejudice, due to favoritism, bias. You can't help it. But he ﷺ did not pry to ask. Anyone who's married knows this. And anyone who's not married should feel lucky to hear this before he gets married. So he doesn't have to learn it the hard way. And if you wait to learn it the hard way, it's your fault. You heard it already. You did it to yourself. The spouses, sometimes the problem gets resolved without anything. The kid falls and bumps his head, they forget the problem, go take care of the kid. Or there's a need for some sort of affection, a warm hug, some sort of intimacy, whatever it is, they fix the problem without a conversation. But the people outside don't have that warmth. All they see from outside is what is the problem. It's the only thing they know. They could have already been resolved, and the parents outside are still boiling, because they're not in the house with them. And so he left sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he went to the masjid. And he saw Ali ibn Abi Talib sitting there, laying down actually on the dust. And so he said to him, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, "Qum Aba Turab, Qum Aba Turab, get up, O father of dust." And he was dusty from the ground. Meaning he's patting him down, he's taking the dust off him, he's giving him a nickname, he's being soft with him. And that would be the end of the problem. Consoling him and go back and you solve your problems together. And even when the Prophet ﷺ, there was an issue between him and Aisha. And Aisha raised her voice to the Prophet ﷺ. And Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, of course Abu Bakr as-Siddiq is going to punish his daughter. How could you speak to the Messenger of Allah like this? And so the Prophet ﷺ kept him at bay. He was the one to keep the father-in-law at bay. For in that is the rescue of the marital ship. Only then can it reach the shores of safety. You know, Shaykh Ali Tantawi, rahimahullah, I'll conclude this in one more hadith. He says, I was a judge in the Islamic courts in Syria. He said something like 60 years straight. He said, and I have collected and saw that 75% of the divorce cases are because of the interference of the in-laws. If only they would have taken from the guidance of our Prophet ﷺ. And the last of the faulty expectations in marriage that I will leave you with, just to show you how dependent we need to be on the Shara. That's why you're here. When Allah says, اهبطوا منها جميعا, He said to Adam, go all down. فَإِمَّا يَأْتِيَنَّكُم مِّنِّي هُدًى, the verse I already recited. When guidance comes to you, meaning you're here on earth, your job is to go look for that guidance for your own sake, for your own peace of mind, for your own ability to live your life correctly and fulfill your duty before Allah. Of these misunderstandings, these faulty expectations, is that you think that every problem in the marriage has to be addressed and addressed immediately. In Sahih Muslim, Aisha radiallahu anha, she says that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam entered the home in the night and took off his shoes and laid under the blankets. And then he got up slowly and grabbed his shoes slowly and walked out of the house slowly and went off. So I became jealous. This is my night. She thought he was going to one of the other wives. Right? She says, so I got up quickly. And I threw on my khimar quickly. And I ran after him in the middle of the night quickly. And I would pace behind him and pace behind him and pace behind him. He got to Baqi' al-Gharqad, the grave next to the Masjid al-Nawawi, the graveyard of al-Baqi'. And he raised his hands 3 times and lowered them. He raised his hands and lowered them, raised his hands and lowered them. And then he turned back towards the house. So now she's behind him. So she turned around and she walked. Yes, so he sped up, so I sped up. So he ran, so I ran. And so I beat him. She beat him home. And she jumped under the cover. She says, so of course, he got into the house and she's sleeping, but she's hyperventilating now. She's breathing hard. So he said, oh Aisha, is there something in your throat? You have asthma, you can't breathe, what's going on? She said, oh, nothing. He said, oh Aisha, will you inform me? Or will the most informed, the best acquainted, Al-Latif Al-Khabir inform me? She said, oh Messenger of Allah, I thought you went to one of your wives. I thought you wronged me. And the Prophet ﷺ, time and time again, was tolerant, and this is important to mention in this hadith because many misuse it, was tolerant with her jealousy, and tolerant at the time that she broke the plate and otherwise. And so he pushed her, or translated, struck her here, ﷺ. She said, but this was not a beating. For many proofs, of the proofs, is that the conversation continued. It wasn't a battery. And he said to her, oh Aisha, did you think Allah and His Messenger would betray you? So he was correcting that for her, and it was very close to his death, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, because he said, oh Aisha, Jibreel had come to me, and he did not want to enter because you had already removed your clothes. And so he hid himself from you. And he told me, Allah has commanded you to go seek forgiveness for the people of Al-Baqi'. So I did not wish for you to be lonely. And so I got up quietly. I didn't tell you I'm going out for a bit. I took your feeling into consideration. And so I walked out slowly. And I went to Al-Gharqad and I made this dua. Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she says what? And this is the point of reference, and with that I close. She said, and what are we supposed to say when we go to the graveyards? Completely different subject. She changed the subject completely. We're talking about you saying that I had wronged you. Said, but what's the dua that we say in the graveyards? You think the Prophet ﷺ didn't notice that? But he didn't say, hey, don't change the subject. Hey, we're going to finish this conversation right now. Right? As many of us do, we press that envelope in moments of anger, when the sunnah is, when you're angry, to be silent. As he said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, hadith ibn Abbas, إِذَا غَضِبَ أَحْدُكُمْ فَلْيَسْكُتْ. So she wanted to silence that conversation and divert to another one. He said, "Oh Aisha, when you enter the graveyard, you say, Assalamu alaikum, diyar qawmin min al-mu'mineen wal-muslimin. All greetings be upon you, O people of the graveyards. May Allah have mercy upon us and you. You have beat us to it, and we, inshallah, will catch up with you. We ask Allah to pardon us and you." This is the dua. And that's the hadith we got the dua from for the graveyards. But the point is, when he saw an opportunity to just ignore the problem, we didn't throw kerosene on the fire. This is of the greatest ways to keep that house warm and harmonious, to keep the atmosphere in the house calm, to let things go. And people appreciate this. Allah Azza wa Jal praised the Prophet ﷺ, and he said, فَعَرَّفَ بَعْضَهُ وَأَعْرَضَ عَنْ بَعْضٍ. He pointed some things out, and he turned a blind eye to others. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to correct our expectations of the world around us, and to make us humble to see that we have of the flaws what we blame in others. And may Allah correct our homes, and may Allah bless our children, and may Allah bless our husbands and our wives, our spouses, and may Allah make our home a Muslim home, a home that promotes our Islam, a home that is filled with Iman. And we ask Allah to make our home a means for coming closer to Him, a means to better being devoted of Him. May Allah make every member of our home someone that when we look at them, we remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah make us of those that are merciful with others, and those that are deserving of having Allah be merciful with us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us what He knows about us, and make us the best of people that are the best to their families. May Allah make us fearing of Him behind closed doors. May Allah make us knowledgeable of Him in public and in private. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make what is remaining of our life better than what has passed, and the ultimate best day of our lives, the day that we meet Him. اللهم اغفر لنا وارحمنا، اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات، ربنا اغفر لنا ولإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان، ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا، ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم، ربنا اغفر لنا ولوالدينا، رب ارحمهما كما ربيانا صغارا، رب ارحمهما كما ربونا صغارا، رب ارحمهما كما ربونا صغارا، وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين، والحمد لله رب العالمين.